Hello and welcome to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio, and we're live, of course, at King Power Stadium.
Vardy arriving at the back post, and we all know what that means.
Watford are the visitors this evening as the Foxes look to win 7 Premier League games on the bounce.
Courtesy of Kelechi Iheanacho and the video assistant referee have surely won this game.
It's Leicester City against Watford, and you can hear it all right here on Matchday Live.
And Deeney heads in, saved by Schmeichel. Oh, what an absolute cracker from Harvey Barnes.
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
Team news, and for the first time in 7 Premier League games, Leicester make a change to their starting 11. Ben Chilwell is injured, so Christian Fuchs comes in at left back. His first appearance since Burton in the League Cup more than a month ago. His 100th league appearance for Leicester City tonight. It is the only alteration from Everton on Sunday here. The same 4-1-4-1 formation, Kasper Schmeichel in goal. The back four, Ricardo, Johnny Evans, Chaglar Soyuncu and Fuchs. Wilfred Ndidi is the holding midfielder. Ahead of him, Azy Perez, Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison and Harvey Barnes. The Premier League's top scorer, Jamie Vardy, leads the line. On the bench for Leicester, Danny Ward, James Justin, Wes Morgan, Mark Albrighton, Kelechi Iheanacho, Sunday's hero, Hamza Chowdhury, Nampalys Mendy and Dennis Pratt. Hayden Mullins' first Watford team shows one change from the last one that Quique Sanchez-Flores picked on Saturday at Southampton. Captain Troy Deeney is back. His campaign's been wrecked by injury so far, but he leads the line. Jose Polibas misses out. Ben Foster is in goal for Watford. A back four, Kiko Firmino, Adrian Mariappa, Craig Cathcart and Adam Messina. Ismail Assar on the right of midfield, Etienne Capoue and Abdoulaye Doucouré, the central midfielders, with Will Hughes on the left. Gerard Delafeu in support of Deeney. On the bench for the Hornets, Aurelio Gomez, Nathaniel Chalobah, Andre Gray, Domingos Quina, Isaac Success, Tom Dele-Bashiru and Dimitri Fourquier. But the big news for Leicester, no Ben Chilwell, Christian Fuchs comes in.
Thank you very much, Chris. Yes, hello and welcome to Matchday Live. A very cold King Power Stadium this evening. It's certainly going to be a cold one, but we're hoping that the football will warm us up. I'm Dan Bates, alongside me to build up, and then with full match commentary is former Leicester City club captain Matt Elliott. Good evening, Matt. Leicester can win
Daniel
for the 7th Premier League game in a row. It would equal their club run of victories in the top flight since March 1963. So this team of 2019 can really make history this evening for Leicester City.
Yeah, I mean, unbelievable record already, isn't it? You know, 6 in 6 and form so good, convincing winners as well. Okay, by the skin of their teeth on Sunday, but pretty much all those games they've been the dominant force. They haven't just been riding the wave, have they? They've been navigating their way through, you know, in such magnificent fashion. And you don't see it changing. You don't see the run ending tonight, really, do you? In all honesty, without being overconfident or dismissive. Most people would be expecting to make it a lucky 7 out of 7, that's for sure.
As you said that, we always sometimes think when we're looking ahead to these games and backing Leicester so strongly to win, there's always a little bit of trepidation. You never want to put all your cards on the table and over-egg the pudding. But when you look at the facts are that Watford have been so poor in the Premier League this season, Leicester have been so good, they really are the strong favourites this season.
Yeah, you know, I say that as an observer, or, you know, someone who's lucky enough to watch all their games and see how impressive they have been. With a player's mentality, you can't afford to let yourself do that. You know, even if the stats are, you know, glaring at you, staring at you in the face, really, and you've got to refocus yourself. Exactly, game by game, it's constantly repeated to you from different quarters. None more so than the manager himself. You know, he's refocusing after every game. Quick turnaround Sunday to the Wednesday can cause a little bit of a problem, but the truth is Leicester have too much for Watford. Probably, certainly the way they're going, 9 times out of 10. But you know, as a player, no, you want that niggling thought in the back of your mind, that because once you get blasé about it, problems occur. And I heard Jerry saying earlier, you know, to Nev, shocks occur, upsets happen. Of course they do. You know, if we don't know that by now, then you're an absolute fool. So the players will be mindful of that and take that into the way they go and perform. But if they perform to their potential, anything like, then you fancy Leicester, you know, hugely, don't you?
Well, December started brilliantly, didn't it, the other evening against Everton with that late win. We'll take a listen back to that and really the outcome of that in just a moment. But for December to start the way that it did like that, hopefully, as we're saying, another 3 points this evening is the perfect springboard, isn't it, to go into this busy run of fixtures. Yeah,
a lot of fixtures coming up. They've completed November amazingly well, haven't they, Leicester, and going to start December in similar fashion. But it's going to be a real test, but it's a real test for the other teams as well, and probably none more so than Liverpool. Don't get me wrong, not getting ahead of myself, but you know, just sort of wondering what the situation will be come the new year. If Leicester play their part as people expect them to do, yeah, things could get really interesting. But we'll have to keep an eye on that situation and comment on that on a later date. But yeah, the capability is there, isn't it? The potential is there with the fixtures as they are. Aston Villa at the weekend, of course you can't look any further than tonight, but as a spectator, stroke observer, you look at that, that's going to be a tough game. That's going to be a tough game without a doubt. Probably the toughest of this mini run of games that you know, Leicester was supposedly meant to win 5 out of 5, which may well be the case. But then you've got looming, lurking in the background is the Man City in the Liverpool games, that not looming in a negative sense, but they're there in the distance, aren't they? And as a player, I think you'd have in mind this run of games, boys, let's maximise it. Let's really go for it. Have a blast. Pick up as many points as possible. And then we'll take on that next challenge, that next step, which will present itself with the two other best teams in the league.
But it was Liverpool's Merseyside rivals, Everton, where December started so brilliantly on Sunday with that dramatic, fantastic late win over Everton.
Well, life as a Fox is pretty good at the moment, flying high in the Premier League, scoring plenty of goals, not conceding many goals, and with a chance today of going second in the table. Everton moving forward. This is Sidibe, right hand side of the penalty area, low ball in, that's headed in, and Everton have the lead. Richarlison gets across his man, nods in the opening goal, and this was not in the script. It's Leicester 0, Everton 1. Barnes, beautiful flick away from Holgate. Vardy, left hand side of the penalty area. Vardy is well challenged by Yerry Mina once again. Chilwell though goes down, penalty. Ben Chilwell wins Leicester City a penalty. Confirmation that the penalty is being checked. No penalty, which must mean that the VAR thinks Ben Chilwell has dived. Now then, indeed, he's surging through midfield. He's away from two. He's got Iheanacho one side and Vardy the other. It goes to Kelechi Iheanacho. Vardy arriving at the back post, and we all know what that means. Jamie Vardy just does not miss those. He gets his 13th Premier League goal of the season. He scores in his 6th consecutive Premier League game. But forget those records for now. The most important stat, the equaliser. Leicester 1, Everton 1. Everton now loose in possession. Tielemans runs away with it inside the centre circle. Ricardo's overlapping. Oh, it's the ball through to Iheanacho. He's offside. Flag goes up. Iheanacho finishes brilliantly, but he's offside. The flag went up a long time ago. Iheanacho doesn't realise it, and now he looks. He went through with a very good celebration, but the flag went up. Now the VAR will look, because the assistant referees are told not to flag if it's tight. Graham Scott still with the finger in his ear. Jordan Pickford in discussion. The referee has given the goal. Leicester City, courtesy of Kelechi Iheanacho and the video assistant referee, have surely won this game. It'll be the 6th straight Premier League win. It'll be a new Premier League record for the club, and it'll equal consecutive wins in the top flight. Kelechi Iheanacho would have wanted that goal to have been given straight away, but he'll certainly settle for the VAR given goal. And Leicester now lead this game 2-1 with just seconds to go.
Your place for all the big moments. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
Just listening back to that, Matt, brings the goosebumps back again. Spine-tingling, wasn't it? That moment where there was the euphoria when you saw Kelechi Iheanacho's shot hit the back of the net. Look at the linesman or the assistant, the flag was up. Desolation, then the VAR moments, and we saw it originally, didn't we? Obviously, in the press box, we had the screens. We could see that Kelechi Iheanacho was onside, and the goal was more than likely going to be given. The only question mark was maybe had the referee blown his whistle. He hadn't. And then when the referee pointed at the halfway line and the screen said goal given, the place absolutely erupted, didn't it?
Yeah, exactly. And I wasn't that excited initially when the ball went in, because obviously saw the flag go up, and that killed the moment really. And I almost felt at the time that Kelechi, just stroked the ball home without any real pressure, because as if he knew in his heart of hearts that it wasn't going to be a goal. That was the sort of impression I got. On reflection, I would say no. Holgate did try and defend it properly. Pickford tried his best to save it, and Iheanacho was just super cool in a really pressurised situation. But once you saw the replay, and you sort of casually looking, it was disappointment, wasn't there, and frustration, wasn't there?
How close was it?
You thought, wouldn't that have been lovely if that had happened? But oh well, it's offside. Let's have a look at the replay, sort of out of interest. Oh, hang on a minute. Straight away you was like, you could see that Iheanacho was more than likely, unless your eyes were playing games with you, he was onside. And then more often than not, when you see that, the gut instinct is normally correct, and proved to be the case. And when even then, you had slight hesitation, didn't you? Or concern that VAR, as it is, even though you could see in VAR terms there was quite a considerable gap between Iheanacho being onside and not. But he's surely not. But from the way it was, the last kick of the game, pretty much. The importance of it, Leicester flying high, essentially they'd had one VAR decision against them, correctly so probably. And you thought, oh no, it's one of those days, and it would flip round, didn't it? And then chaos and mayhem here on the touchline in front of us. But what an occasion, and it really sent everyone home in jubilant mood, didn't it?
Yeah, but you saw the celebrations and the togetherness of this squad, which has been a word that's been used a lot this season, but I think that pretty much summed it up, didn't it? Because Kelechi Iheanacho hasn't been involved at all in the Premier League. He comes on, he gets an assist, and he scores a goal, and he's the hero, and everyone goes to him to congratulate. We saw the scenes in the dressing room as well at full time. It underlines the feeling and the togetherness in this squad.
Yeah, I'd say so. I think unusual situation, because people have dealt with VAR before, but not in that context really, and people were not quite sure how to react really, were they? I think because they semi-lined back up, didn't they? Kelechi Iheanacho was actually physically praying that his decision was going to go his way. That was a nice little touch, how much it meant to him. And the circumstances, the lateness of the game, and the fact that the points were hanging in the balance, and it's just the relief and the excitement as well, wasn't it? And Iheanacho is fair play. Yeah, I like that side of it. The fact he went running over to the bench. I don't know exactly if it was for any particular individual, but other players may have had a slight grievance before the fact that he hasn't had the opportunities. Haven't been coming his way, and but he was over there, in and around the manager's vicinity, and all the group, as it's often called these days, celebrated in fine style together. Didn't the players all came teaming over, didn't they? And it was a special moment. Yeah, it was, and one that, not that Leicester spirit needs enhancing, but one that really pulls them together, and they do seem to genuinely have that spirit and bond between them. As many teams profess to have, but the reality is not always equal to those claims. But it's Yeah, no, it's you can see the togetherness on the pitch, though. You don't need private moments and cameras in the dressing room, etc. All good, but they're not needed to reinforce the fact that Leicester have that spirit between them as a squad, as a group, as a team, because the proof's in the pudding on the performances, the way they all back each other up on the pitch.
Well, we can hear from the match winner and the hero on Sunday, Kelechi Iheanacho, who spoke to LCFC TV after the incredible finale to that game.
It was a great moment. First game of the season, first goal and assist. So I'm really buzzing. I'm happy. It all came from the hard work in training. So I've been working hard and keeping my head up, waiting for the opportunity to come. And I'm happy it came and I took it. Starting from the players, the staff, the manager, everyone, we are all together. So everyone is happy with each other. But those are playing or those are not playing, everyone is happy. It's a great squad. It's a happy place to be.
He had such a smile on his face as well, Matt, after the game, as you can imagine. He was just so pleased with the performance. We've seen him in the cup score in both the games that he's played in. And where is it? Burton first, Burton second, and Luton. Luton and Burton. So to then come on and do it in the Premier League like that, he's looked sharp every time that we've seen him actually in a Leicester shirt this season.
Yeah, no, and hats off to him for that, because easier said than done, that's for sure. Because I often marvel at the modern day players, how they, and I asked Johnny Evans not so long ago, really how they maintain their sharpness and their fitness, to come into the fray. Tonight we're going to see that, an example of that with Christian Fuchs, but they come in at a very close level to the lads who play consistently, and it's almost a sort of modern day phenomenon, to be honest, because when I asked Johnny and other people within the camp, then there's no real magic formula for it. They just do a little bit extra here and there. But in my day, you used to do extra running, but you needed to play reserve games as well, or development games as they are these days. But to do that over a period of time really takes some self-discipline and self-control and motivation. And Kelechi Iheanacho has exhibited that more than anyone, really, because over a period of time he hasn't played, as you say, just two appearances in the Carabao Cup, none at all in the Premier League. To come on and do what he did was exceptional.
Well, his international teammate Wilfred Ndidi has been speaking to the media this week, and he was asked how pleased he's been with his personal performances this season.
Very happy with the way the team is going, with the way the team is playing, because only one player cannot make a team. So I'm happy because we're doing our bit, and if the team is doing well, that means every player is doing well in his position. So I'm happy.
He was very quick during that interview, Matt, when he was asked on a personal level how he found his season. He was very quick to turn it on the fact that it's a team, it's about the team. He said he's pleased with how the team are playing, which again underlines where this Leicester City squad see themselves. They're not individuals, this is a squad, this is a group, this is a team.
Yeah, well, it's something that rightly so is impressed on them on regular occasions, day in, day out, that mentality and developing it. But you have to look at yourself and develop yourself as well within that group situation. And Wilfred Ndidi is a fine example of that. I think he's come on leaps and bounds, really. I mean, he's always been effective in his time at the club. His age belies the fact that he's got the experience and the quality that he has. But to perform in the role he plays and the way he goes about it, is the game of someone who's been around for at least 5, 6, 7 years, this sort of level, to come in and perform like he does. I think I was going to say he's undervalued, but certainly not by his teammates, I wouldn't imagine. But generally from the outside football world, I think much of the focus is on the other players, Vardy in particular, Maddison and Tillemans, etc. But he's equally as influential as anyone, without doubt.
But listening to that, he doesn't seem bothered that what he does goes under the radar. He's selfless both on the pitch with what he does. He wins the ball back and he gives it to those players, and he's selfless clearly off the pitch as well.
That's right. It's sort of reflecting his personality, and it's not always the case, but it's a good point to pick up on, really. I mean, you see James Maddison, say for instance, he's quite demonstrative player there in terms of, like, he likes to get on the ball and doesn't mind being the centre of attention on the pitch or off it. Nothing wrong with that if you can handle it. You know, everyone's different, but yeah, and that's reflected in his sort of style of play, really, isn't it? A bit, yeah. And Didi, similar in a different way, because in the fact that his role reflects his personality, maybe, but I don't know him privately, personally, away from the pitch, but seems quite quiet, gets on with business, doesn't he? Doesn't let anything ruffle him too much. You know, equally popular probably within the squad, but yeah, quite happy to take a back seat and just let his performances do the talking.
Was there ever a player in your career, in your time playing, that did that role as effectively as it looks like Wilfred Ndidi does for this group? Because it must be so important and so great for the likes of James Maddison, of Yuri Tielemans, to know that you've got someone like Wilfred Ndidi behind you who will mop pretty much everything up.
Well, I suppose the obvious one is, you know, Neil Lennon you look at, but totally different types of players, really, although they were in a similar, certainly, department of the pitch and you know, a similar-ish role, but expressed it in a different way. I'm just staring at the screen now with someone else who proclaimed to be of that ilk, Robbie Savage. Again, another totally diverse character. No, but yeah, he's sort of like mopping up and cleaning up and turning over possession, etc. Neil Lennon was a little bit like that. Difference, I think, at the moment, more athleticism from Wilfred Ndidi. He's more rangy, etc., and probably covers the ground better, although Neil could travel quicker than he was given credit for, to be honest. But there's one area where Ndidi needs to improve, and I think he has been. He's just tightened up his distribution. Neil Lennon was superb at that. I mean, I don't think he gave the ball away in his career, never mind in a game. He didn't always pass, you know, it wasn't always a 40-yard wonder ball with the outside of the foot, although he did have that ability, Neil. But you know, he just missed the consistency, and he would track back and be behind the centre halves like myself, Jerry, etc. Got us out of trouble umpteen times, and indeed he does a wonderful job for his centre halves in there, and he's learnt the role at a very young age, and that's what's exceptional. But I'd put him up there. Off the top of my head, is there a better defensive in his role, midfielder, in the Premier League at the moment? When you look at it, Fabinho possibly, yeah, I'll get him. He's up there in the top three, isn't he? I think Wilfred at the moment. I'd have him over Declan Rice at West Ham for sure in that role, as things stand.
And I think that the fact that we've touched upon his age as well, he's just 22 years old, which going into this busy run of fixtures means that probably that position for other teams, they might need to change, because he'll cover a lot of ground. It's quite a physical part of the pitch. He's got to impose himself on the opposition from minute one, but because he's young and because his body presumably will be able to recover quicker than the older players, he might be able to play more of those games across the festive period, and potentially we won't see as much rotation in his position.
Yeah, well, you'd like to think so, wouldn't you? You never quite know how it's going to pan out, but physically he's immense, isn't he? I mean, he's quite slight in build, but he's one of those, you know, wiry, rangy, sinewy sort of physique, hasn't he? And you know, build with, you go up against, what is he, 6'2", probably, you know, awkward customer to come up against. You try and go past him, out comes one of them telescopic legs, and he can compete aerially, he can compete in terms of swiftness around the pitch, he can turn sharply. As an athlete, he's one of those as well. You know, the opposition come up against him, they must be thinking, oh no, here we go, don't fancy this. Not saying he's at those levels yet, but Patrick Vieira back in the day must have been, you know, a dreadful thought, the promise of going up against him, and similar with Ndidi. But especially when the way Leicester play, they do balance it off particularly well, but people look at it as a, you know, 4-1-4-1. They're flexible within that. They can drop collectively if necessary, or advance as a unit. But he can sometimes get isolated in there on his own if Maddison and Tielemans have got exposed up the pitch. But he's cute enough to know which side of the pitch, you know, the attack's coming, and he preempts it, and he's often cleaned up before the attack or the counter-attack has even began to get going really. So again, it shows his intelligence there. But yeah, I mean, I think he really does look top class. And we're just seeing the stat board up here on the screen at the King Power. Pass accuracy 84%. That's no mean feat, whether it's sideways, backwards, the odd occasional one forward. I think he's becoming more progressive, but he knows his limits. That's the difference. Excuse me, sorry. I think he's at times he's tried to sort of join in with the rest of the gang, and that's not necessarily his forte. I think his temptation has been the temptation to try the more expansive. Has been resisted, and I think he's benefited from that as well as the team.
Yeah, Matt Elliott there reading off the big screens here inside King Power Stadium that of course gave those fans so much joy on Sunday when they said VAR goal given. It meant that Leicester's unbeaten run here at King Power Stadium was extended as well. And during LCFC Radio's extra time on Monday evening, Leicester Mercury journalist Jordan Blackwell underlines City's imperious home form.
That's the thing. I think Leicester have become a team that other sides fear. I think particularly at home, I think they've won every game but the opening game against Wolves. And I think even though they've gone behind in a few of those games, I think Spurs, Burnley and Everton, they've now gone behind in at home, Leicester. But they just come back and win. And I think particularly, I think we saw it in the game against Southampton, how fragile Watford are at the minute. They took the lead and that they still ended up losing. They ended up giving up a few chances before Southampton finally got through. So I think, yes, I think they will be a little bit worried about coming here. Maybe they'll see it as a fresh start, having another new manager in. But I think the fact that they're now on their third man in charge, I don't think that's going to help their confidence too much. I don't think they'll get that boost that you usually get.
You were on extra time, of course, on LCFC Radio on Monday evening. You can listen back to that anytime you care. It's on lcfc.com. But we were alongside Jordan Blackwell. He made his debut on the show, Leicester Mercury journalist, and was very good. And he spoke in depth, didn't he, and knew his stuff, which is, I think, what you're smiling about.
I am rolling my eyes at the memory. Can we not invite him back anytime soon, please?
Why, because he showed you up?
Yeah, he showed me and you right up there. The stat man. I thought Hutch was on the show. If I shut my eyes, it would have been like the club historian had turned up. Smashed us on the quiz, although I did win the last man standing.
You did, yeah.
I just want to have that.
Dubiously. But
I can't believe I haven't been pulled up for that.
He was talking there about the home form and how good it has been this season. Those only points dropped against Wolves on the opening day. Yes, it could have been a defeat, but it wasn't on that opening day, and Leicester have just gone strength from strength from there here this season.
Yeah, exactly what they've intended to do. That game against Wolves, it seems quite a distant memory now, doesn't it? But Leicester weren't at their best opening game of the season. Wolves consider themselves slightly unfortunate, especially with the VAR decision. But listen, the little bit swings and roundabouts, isn't it? And Leicester have taken advantage a couple of times, with decisions that have gone their way. But the way they've been playing generally is the transformation, really, when you look at it, it's astounding, really. These have always been a talented group of players, don't get me wrong, but Claude Puel at times last season, the football was pretty oppressive, really, wasn't it, on occasion, and it was sort of stagnating and grinding to a halt. St. Brendan Rodgers has come in and just totally transformed things, really. But I think, and
the field's there, isn't it, at King Power Stadium? Yeah, it's steadily filling up now, just over half an hour to go till kick-off, but the buzz is back, isn't it, on a match day?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, be interested in a little bit the atmosphere tonight. The fact the quick turnover Sunday to the Wednesday and cold, dark December evening, can maybe cause a little bit of a lull in the atmosphere, but Leicester riding high as they are, and people are excited to be here, and there's a clamour for tickets, aren't there? Most people are unfortunately disappointed. You could probably fill this ground at least twice over right now, the way Leicester are going. But yeah, they're saying the transformation from Brendan Rodgers, the way he's got these players firing on all cylinders, it's an incredible job, because you can get spoilt and get accustomed to it and forget the work that he has done. You can be respectful of it as well, but as supporters, they soon get used to that, and if they're slightly off what they're capable of. There's a few grumbles all of a sudden, but they've got to be mindful of how much things have changed in such a short space of time.
Yeah, and the proof, of course, in the pudding. Leicester looking to win 7 Premier League games in a row for the first time in their history. And the team that are doing so well, let's find out with our commentator, Chris Parrott.
No Ben Chilwell tonight through injury. He picked up a knock on Sunday, so Christian Fuchs starts. The first time Brendan Rodgers has made a change to his starting 11 in the Premier League for 7 games. It is the same formation though as ever, Dan, 4-1-4-1. Kasper Schmeichel in goal, Ricardo, Johnny Evans, Chaglar Sunchu and Fuchs across the back. Fuchs' 100th league appearance for the Foxes tonight. Wilfred Ndidi, the holding midfielder. Ahead of him, Ozzy Perez, Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison and Harvey Barnes. And the Premier League's top scorer, Jamie Vardy, up front. Watford welcome back captain Troy Deeney tonight. Just his 4th Premier League appearance of the season due to injury. Jose Holivas drops out from the side that lost to Southampton on Saturday. A change from 3 to 4 at the back as well for interim head coach Hayden Mullins. So Ben Foster is in goal for the Hornets, a back 4 of Kiko Firmino, Craig Cathcart, Adrian Mariappa and Adam Messina. Ismail Assar on the right of midfield, Will Hughes on the left, Abdoulaye Doucouré and Etienne Capoue in the centre of midfield, Gerard Deulofeu behind Deeney, who captains Watford. But for Leicester, no Ben Chilwell, so Christian Fuchs comes in.
Thank you very much, Chris. We've just seen shots of the Watford interim head coach Hayden Mullins arriving here at King Power Stadium. We'll hear from him in just a moment's time, as well as, of course, hearing from Brendan Rodgers and taking a closer look at Watford.
You're listening to LCFC Radio.
NATO leaders have issued a joint statement trying to show unity after the 70th anniversary summit was overshadowed by conflict between heads of state. Donald Trump's called the Canadian Prime Minister two-faced after Justin Trudeau was videoed apparently gossiping about him. Yesterday, the US president had a public falling out with his French counterpart. But Boris Johnson insists progress has been made, particularly on how much of their GDP members will spend on defence.
There has been a substantial increase in spending by our European friends. And at this meeting here today, country after country pledged or gave an account of how they were going to meet the pledge of 2%.
Former England cricket captain and commentator Bob Willis has died at the age of 70 following a long illness. He played 90 test matches during the 1970s and 80s, taking 325 wickets. A heavily pregnant cyclist who was injured in a suspected hit-and-run in Leicester has lost her baby. The woman in her 40s remains in hospital following the crash on Monday night. 2,500 jobs at greetings card retailer Clinton's have been saved. It follows a restructuring deal which saw the firm sold back to its existing owners. James Bond comes face-to-face with the woman who appears to have replaced him as 007 in the first trailer for No Time to Die.
The world's moved on, Commander Bond.
You were 00.
2 years. So stay in your lane. You get in my way, I will put a bullet in your knee. The one that works.
The teaser from Universal Pictures shows Bond meeting Nomi, who's played by Lashana Lynch. It's due to be released in cinemas in April. And researchers reckon dogs are capable of recognising speech in the same way people do. The studies found they're able to understand words even when they're spoken by different people or in different accents. That's the latest. I'm Daisy Steele.
The only place you can listen to every Leicester City match online. This is LCFC Radio.
Yes, welcome back to Matchday Live here on LCFC Radio with me, Dan Bates. Sat alongside me for this evening is Matt Elliott. We're just looking up at the big screens here showing previous games against Watford. It's a pretty memorable fixture in recent years, isn't it? Leicester City against Watford for one reason or another. Last year, of course, Leicester came out 2-0 winners here at King Power Stadium. One of those goals, that fantastic solo effort from James Maddison. So something similar again this evening, Matt, would be just perfect, wouldn't it?
Yes, very nice too. And the earlier the better, because you feel if Leicester were to open the scoring in the early moments that they may go and feel their boots a touch. But don't want to get too ahead of ourselves. Job to be done. You must be respectful of Watford. They're Premier League players in their own right. and many people feel they're sort of underachieving at the moment, so there is the possibility that something could click for them. Wouldn't want to be too dismissive, that's for sure, but Leicester at the moment, firing on all cylinders, aren't they, pretty much? And be looking to make it, as we said earlier, at 7 out of 7.
And the team that are warming up right in front of us, Matt, Watford, obviously bottom of the Premier League at the moment, 6 points adrift of safety. Something clearly had to change, something has changed. Hayden Mullins in temporary charge this evening. How do you think the players will be approaching this game this evening? For them, they're coming to the team that could go second in the Premier League, have been fantastic this season. No one expects them to get anything here, so does that take pressure off them? Does it add pressure onto them?
Yeah, I don't think it adds to the pressure, really, because there's always an emphasis and a need to win games, of course there is, and I wouldn't say time's running out for them, but if they're going to turn the season round, it needs to happen pretty quickly. So they've got to be, as individuals and as a collective, they've got to be mindful of what they were achieving not so long ago. Fortunes can change so quickly, can't they? But not that long ago, Watford were in the top third of the league, or certainly top half, weren't they?
FA Cup finalists.
Yeah, FA Cup finalists. It all went a little bit wrong, actually, didn't it? Once they sort of got past the semi-final stage, the season took a downturn. Then obviously they were bashed out of sight in the final, and then they haven't been able to sort of reignite themselves this season. But there's talent in that team, and a massive plus, and obviously one that we haven't mentioned too much is the return of how much impact he'll be able to make on his comeback is Troy Deeney. Leicester fans know all about him for different reasons, but without doubt that's a positive for them. They're trying to be bright and energetic in the warm-up and get the right attitude going, and that's all well and good, but the proof's in the pudding when you actually get out there and face the opposition. But no, I think you're surprised they're in the position they are, put it that way. There are one or two teams that you think, yeah, okay, you could see that happening and they're on the demise, but as players, they must be used to turmoil, really, because a few of the lads have been there for a little while, haven't they? And they've just seen a few managers come and go already, so this is part of the course at Watford. But they're looking fine fettle, to be fair, in the warm-up, which is laughing, smiling and joking, which some people might find a little bit questionable considering the situation they're in.
Well, one man that can give us a bit of a better insight into the Hornets is former Watford midfielder and now BBC Three Counties radio summariser Derek Payne, and he says Hayden Mullins should relish this opportunity this evening.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, obviously Leicester going so well, playing really good football. But obviously you can look at it as a challenge or an opportunity. And I think Hayden Mullins, if he's got any ideas of furthering his career, he's got to look at it as an opportunity. He can showcase his talents. Obviously, very difficult opponent, but it'll be interesting to see what team he puts out for Watford and how they line up, and tactically the way he goes about it tonight. So I see it as a massive challenge for him, but also an opportunity. They won't look at it as a free hit, but from his point of view, obviously if they can perform well and they come out of here with a good performance, irrelevant of the scoreline, that will look good for Hayden Mullins personally. But obviously, they still haven't found a head coach. If he gets a good result here tonight and then Crystal Palace on Saturday gets another good result, who knows? So I feel it's a massive opportunity for him to showcase his talents. Deulofeu can be a match winner on his day. It depends what mood he's in. Obviously, if he gets the game by the scruff of the neck, he can be a very dangerous opponent. Ismail Sarr, who's our record signing, very young, only 21. He's starting to find his form. He played well at Southampton in the last game. So you look to them the two forward-thinking players, and I think they're the ones that Leicester have to be aware of.
Hi Leicester fans, it's Ricardo Pereira.
It's Kasper Schmeichel here.
I'm Jamie Vardy. You're listening to Matchday Live on LCFC Radio.
Yes, welcome back to LCFC Radio's Matchday Live with me, Dan Bates, and Matt Elliott. Just before we heard Jamie Vardy's voice there, we heard from former Watford midfielder Derek Kane, and he obviously talked about the game tonight, how Hayden Mullins will approach the game tonight, but he also mentioned the game at the weekend. Now, Crystal Palace at home. From a Watford point of view, that is infinitely more important, isn't it? You would think to them, because that is a game they can approach at home against Crystal Palace, where they can really target the 3 points. Whereas this evening, they're not coming here expecting a win, are they?
No, but you can't go into a game with that mentality, really, whatever the situation. I suppose in their heart of the hearts, you know, they're thinking, oh, it's going to be tough tonight, but you can't go into, I mean, I can't really remember going into a game not thinking, oh, we haven't got a chance in this game. But whatever the gulf was between the two sides. Even if that was, for instance, an FA Cup when I was playing in the 4th division against the Premier League, we still thought we've got a sniff. So Watford were we thinking that, you know, they're decent level professional footballers, aren't they? They're playing in the Premier League, the majority of them, for a good while now. And it wasn't that long ago, again repeating myself, that they were considered, you know, reasonable force in this division. So, but I get your point to an extent. If you're looking at it in the grand scheme of things, you know, the likelihood is that we've got more chance of picking up points at home, and that was more defining in terms of how their fortunes are probably going to go. But they're not in a position luxurious enough to discount a game. You know, they've got to go, unfortunately, because of the predicament they're in, and try and pick up points whoever they're up against.
Well, you look at it, it's 1 win in 18 league games for Watford. They've lost 11 of those as well.
Yeah, I think the biggest blow, and as a consequence the manager lost his job, it was sort of the final straw, if you like. You know, going to Southampton already at this early-ish stage of the season, it was considered, rightly so, you know, a basement battle and a 6-pointer, etc. But they took the lead. And Southampton, we know, are relatively fragile confidence-wise, although decent performance against Arsenal not so long ago would have bolstered them. But he took the lead and then just managed to find a way to concede that lead, and not just concede the lead, but actually give the advantage to the opposition. And that was a massive blow, wasn't it? And when that happens, it's quite hard to get over. You question whether they've got that steel and that resolve this year. For whatever reason, it's not quite clicking or gelling for them, is it? And it's difficult to get that back.
Well, it's obviously a first Premier League game in charge for interim head coach Hayden Mullins, who's been speaking ahead of the game, and he says he's really excited to take charge of the first team this evening.
So for me, it's an absolute honour to lead the team tomorrow, and it's just an ongoing process. It's part of a club kind of appointment that they're looking for. So, you know, I'm not part of that. You know, the role that I'm given tomorrow is a fantastic role for me personally, and it's one that I'm really looking forward to. The main challenge is the next game. We know we're facing a very good side in Leicester, so obviously that's the main challenge that's facing us at the moment. We know they're a very good side. We've got loads of pace in the team, and they're a big threat. So it's how we kind of approach the game and how we set up to attack them.
What do you expect from a Watford point of view, Matt? Do you see Hayden Mullins, is it just going to be this one game in charge and then there'll be someone permanent for the weekend, or will he have a couple of games? Obviously you're not in the know in the Watford hierarchy.
How do you know I'm not in the know? I may well be. I might know more than you think, young man. The weekend, yeah.
You don't know, do you?
No, well, no. No one knows, do they? Watford don't even probably know themselves, do they? But they have targets in mind for sure. I think, Hayden Mullins is pretty sure it's just a temporary measure. All due respect to him, but as Derek said before, Derek Payne, there it is an opportunity for him to display his coaching, stroke managerial skills, really. The way that his team will set about things tonight, it looks like it's going to be a 4-4-1-1, 4-4-2 in terms of system. We'll have to wait and see, but which is a slight change, which I think he's wise to do. If he just employed or applied the same tactics as have not been working before would seem slightly bizarre. But he's I think at the weekend maybe a little bit too soon. You don't want to rush things. I know they need to get things sorted ASAP, but it's got to be the right man, hasn't it? And he's got to hit the ground running as well, at Watford in particular.
Well, he's been their under-23s coach or boss since 2016.
I'm referring to the new manager, sorry.
No, sorry, no, of course.
Mullins
Yeah,
as
no,
well,
I realised that. Just looking down at their 18, there's Deli Bashiru on the bench. That's about it, really, that were featured for him in the development squad. So he's not immediately turned to the youth ranks and the players that he knows. But
well,
the first,
wise not to, yeah.
But the first team players will have known him in and around the training ground, and they'll know obviously of him. So yeah. What do you think the attitude will be like?
I'm sure they'll have respect for that as well, and also not that it's a necessity or in any way, shape or form, but the fact that he's around the club, they'll know him from his playing days, etc. They'll know his personality around the club. But he's from these Isles as well, so in terms of communication, etc., they probably know him to a decent level anyway, and I'm sure they'll have great respect for him. Although it's a very difficult situation to come in, that jump from 23s to the first team. You can have so many good intentions, but the position they're in reference to the point you made there about being involved with the youth team stroke development squad, I think you'd be very wise not to be fast-tracking any of them into this situation, because it's not a time for youngsters to be getting involved and trying to make an impression. It's a serious, it's do or die situation. You need experience to get through it.
Last point on Watford before we take a look at Leicester again. There's around about 13 minutes incidentally till kick-off here on Matchday Live and LCFC Radio, but their Twitter has Watford lined up as a 4-4-1-1. Delafeu in behind Deeney, which was obviously successful last season. They're so happy, those fans across from us, though. They must be so happy seeing Troy Deeney back in a Watford shirt.
Yeah, very much so, and rightly so. He's proved himself, a genuine, good quality Premier League striker, hasn't he? They've missed him absolute bundles. But again, you look at the midfield section as well. I mean, not too much wrong with that, is there? They've got a bit of variety there. Got Capu, quite rangy and quite classy, and considered widely a decent player. Doucouré similar, even more of an athlete probably. Hasn't been quite on the form that people have seen him in before, but Delafeu, a bit intermittent, in his displays, but without doubt has got talent, hasn't he? He can just ghost past players. Hughes is a very good footballer, not an out-and-out wide man as such, but they've got that in Sarr, who's got the pace and energy. They've got a good blend there in that front six. The back four, I would question. Messina, I'm not convinced by. Mariappa, similarly, although he's captain of the club and has hung in there pretty well, but I've seen him up against James Vardy before, and he will be full of trepidation, I'm sure.
Yeah, one change for Watford this evening, one change as well for Brendan Rodgers and Leicester City, and the Foxes manager was asked in the week about team selection ahead of the busy festive period.
It is impossible to play the same team in every single game. Obviously what helps us is we've had one game a week, the team is in rhythm, and we've had no injuries, so the only changes we've had to make has been in the game. But there's no doubt over the course of this next numbers of weeks, like every other team, that they have to consider the team and for us, and especially how we want to play, that to bring that energy and intensity into the game.
Obviously the one change in force, Chilwell picking up that knock against Everton. Matt, did you expect to see a couple more changes this evening? Obviously there's that extra day's rest, I guess, because the Villa game takes place on Sunday, of course.
No, I think not to any serious degree, but I think Brendan may possibly have considered sticking Kelechi Iheanacho in there straight away, only because there was the possibility that perhaps Watford might employ a back five tonight, but with the managerial change, you know, he would have only been able to second guess that, really. So I think it was pretty much straightforward, wasn't it? As best he can, same team, hopefully same result.
Well, Brendan Rodgers, his first game in charge of the Foxes was actually against Watford, albeit it was away from home, and that was back in March. And he's been asked about the improvement he's made since then here at King Power Stadium.
I'd hope that we would progress. I think that game we were unfortunate to lose it. I've seen a lot of good things in the game that day, and we lost it. I said afterwards to the team that it's not about losing this game. We're going to be in a process, and when you're in a process which is about learning and development, as long as you learn from that, then that is what is key. So from where that was then to where we are now is, of course, very pleasing. So it shows the development that's taken place, and hopefully we can continue with that on Wednesday.
He'll be absolutely delighted, won't we, Brendan Rodgers? If you'd have said to him after that Watford game and the nature of the late defeat down at Vicarage Road, it was so disappointing on that day, Brendan Rodgers' first game in charge, if you'd have told him then where Leicester would be right now, win at home against Watford, who are bottom of the Premier League, and you go second by 3 points, he'd have snapped your hand off, wouldn't he? He's been such a brilliant turnaround since March.
Oh yeah, along with everyone else, wouldn't it? But listen, Brendan Rodgers would have come into the club with sort of high ambitions, aspirations, but even he couldn't have foreseen the level to which Leicester would rise up to this point. It's some feat, is it? The fact that we're talking about the chance tonight again to yet again hurdle over Man City, of all people. It seems bizarre, doesn't it? Him talking about it now, but slowly people are realising that that's the sort of areas that Leicester are operating in these days. But he's done an incredible job, and he has to take a hell of a lot of credit, as do a hell of a lot of other people as well, the players obviously. But it's a sign of the times at Leicester. You do things properly, sometimes you get what you deserve.
And it would mean as well, listen to these numbers, that Leicester would win 11 of their opening 15 games, which in any league campaign, in any league is good going, but in the Premier League, with the standard of teams and players that we have in the league at the moment, is such an incredible feat.
Yes, it is. I'd sort of slightly question the quality of the Premier League, to be honest, at this moment in time. Even that aside, unbelievable achievement, yes, to win the amount of games that they are. The money that is in this division and the players that will come, you would expect it to be a nigh on impossible task for the likes of Leicester City to do what they've done, but it's proved to not be the case. They've excelled expectations, exceeded expectations, and it's wonderful to be part of it and have an opportunity to witness the games week in, week out, and long may it continue.
And we've gone nearly an hour here on Matchday Live, and we've not mentioned Jamie Vardy's name yet. He can score for the 7th Premier League game on the trot this evening, and I guess from a Brendan Rodgers point of view, that'll have been the one thing that when he came in, he thought, if he can get Jamie Vardy firing, you get Leicester City firing.
Yeah, the two go hand in hand, don't they, to an extent over the last few years, but he's a massive part. He's the focal point of the strike force, yes, but there are so many other areas of the team that need to be effective for Jamie Vardy to be the striker that he is. But there's nothing more frustrating, to be honest, than having good build-up play, and it's so influential on your happenings, isn't it? But to have build-up play and then chances wasted or not converted consistently over a period of time can become demoralising and have a massive effect on your fortunes. And Leicester have been very lucky that they have Jamie Vardy up top to finish off all their fine work.
Yes, he could score for a 7th game in a row. Dare we start whispering about number 11 again here at King Power Stadium? Well, we'll find out in 90 minutes time if he's still on for that record. The 90 minutes is, of course, coming up here on Matchday Live on LCFC Radio. If you're listening in on social media, those streams will stop. You'll have to head to lcfc.com/radio to listen to the full game, of course, for free. But it is time to hand you over to your commentary team of Matt Elliott and Chris Parrott.
Madison, oh, that is absolutely brilliant!
the net. Come on.
What a delightful goal that is from Jamie Vardy.
All the games, all the goals, and all the big moments. You're listening to LCFC Radio.
The big games keep coming thick and fast for Leicester City. Welcome to a chilly and foggy King Power Stadium as Brendan Rodgers' class of 2019 eye another slice of history. Beat struggling Watford tonight, and it'll be 7 top-flight wins in a row, equalling a club record which has stood for more than 50 years. The two teams are in the tunnel on a crisp winter's night under the floodlights. December is here, only 72 hours on since this place was bouncing after that late winner against Everton. What drama lies in store tonight against the Hornets? Rock bottom of the Premier League, with Hayden Mullins in temporary charge following the sacking of Quique Sanchez-Flores. It has been a season to forget for Watford so far, one to remember for Leicester City, and here come the two sets of players. Out of the warmth of the tunnel and into a cauldron of noise on a bitterly chilly evening. Leicester City, led by captain Kasper Schmeichel, will make their way onto the pitch. The referee has picked up the Premier League ball from the plinth, and we're almost ready for action. Matt Elliott alongside myself, Chris Parrott. What do you expect from the opening 15-20 minutes? Leicester, the form team, Watford under Hayden Mullins in interim charge. It's rarely as easy as it looks on paper, is it?
No, that's right, yeah. I mean, you would want, and I'm sure Brendan Rodgers will be trying to impress it on the players, go and try and terrorise Watford early on. That's the case in most games. Really want to start well, put the opposition under pressure, particularly at home. Doesn't always work out that way, but tonight is an ideal opportunity for that. There's a lot of turmoil at the club in terms of the changeover of managers. Mullins wouldn't have had that long to impress himself on the team. He's changed the formation by the looks of it. We'll have to wait and see there. But while they're adjusting and trying to reacclimatise, Leicester have got to try and go and hit them for 6. And that would be the intention. Whether Watford have got the resolve to resist, we'll have to wait and see.
The two sets of players have gone through the handshakes. Leicester have peeled off their training tops and have marched towards the south stand to our right-hand side. And Watford heading towards a small band of travelling fans. It's another sellout at King Power, and there's more Leicester fans in tonight than at any other stage this season, because Watford sent back 2 of their blocks, which were then sold to Leicester City supporters. So there's even more Leicester fans in the normal today, looking to roar Brendan Rodgers' side on.
Great news, Chris. I think you could sell it 2 times over at least, couldn't you, the tickets here? But a quick change around Sunday to Wednesday. But you were looking around literally 10-15 minutes ago, spaces everywhere. Yep. All of a sudden there's been a real influx, a real surge, supporters coming in at the last minute, and as I say, another sellout, another incredible atmosphere at the King Power.
It never fails to amaze me, that on-night matches, and this is the first midweek match we've had here at King Power Stadium this season. All of Leicester's League Cup matches have been away from home, and they haven't had the Premier League game on a Friday or a Monday. This is the first round of midweek matches. Team news, as Troy Deeney and Kasper Schmeichel pose for a photo alongside the referee. And for the first time in 7 Premier League games, Leicester have made a change, enforced. Ben Chilwell's injured, so Christian Fuchs comes in at left back, his 100th league appearance for Leicester City. So it's Schmeichel in goal, a back 4, Ricardo, Johnny Evans, Chagla Soyuncu and Fuchs, Wilfred and Didi the holding midfielder. Ahead of him, Ozzy Perez, Yuri Tielemans, James Maddison and Harvey Barnes, with Jamie Vardy up front, of course. 13 league goals, already phenomenal. Hayden Mullins makes one change from the team that he inherited, the last one that Quique Sanchez-Flores picked, and that is captain Deeney back. Jose Holebas drops out, and it looks like a change from 3 to 4 at the back. Ben Foster in goal, back 4, Kiko Firmino, Adrian Mariappa, Craig Cathcart and Adam Messina. Ismail Assar, the right winger, the club record signing, who got his first goal for the club at St Mary's on Saturday. Will Hughes on the left, Etienne Capoue and Abdoulaye Doucouré in central midfield, with Gerard Deulofeu behind Deeney. It will be Watford to get us underway. 7:30 kickoff.